Oh,
How
He
we
looks
roll.
so bright and cheery in the daytime.
oh my God.
He's a day walker.
Did you just finish breakfast? I have no idea the hours you keep.
Yes, I did. I had some cereal.
What kind of cereal? What's your cereal? Here we go. Cereal tier list, guys. Let's go.
Ooh, number one, Reese's Puffs. It's my absolute favorite. Followed by probably maybe Lucky Charms.
Okay. He redeemed himself.
And then I'd have to say, you might Frosted Mini Wheats, strawberry.
Oh, dude, that's freaking legendary. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like the adult and me and the kid and me come together, and then somebody said, "Hey, let's bring some strawberries," and I said, "See you there."
Yeah.
Chris, how about you, man?
Reese's Puffs.
Yes.
First and foremost.
Oh, dude, disgusting. Anyway,
What?
I hate peanut butter, and I'm not a fan of chocolate.
Probably then Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Also, yeah, that was actually going to be like an honorable mention.
And then I've really been enjoying Smacks the last couple of years, which I didn't enjoy that much as a kid. But
Honey Smacks, yeah.
Maybe Honey Smacks is developed for an adult sweet tooth.
I like plain old Rice Krispies.
Rice Krispies? Nice.
Yeah, dude. I adore Rice Krispies. Give me some raisins maybe sometimes, maybe a sliced up banana occasionally. You know,
In the Rice Krispies?
Just straight up, yeah. Straight up Rice Krispies, maybe a little fruit in that. Maybe some cut up strawberries. I don't know. I guess they're from a sugary kind of like sweet dessert cereal. So I classify those other ones. I guess I could do Fruity Pebbles, but I talked about this like on a live stream but my favorite cereal is like it's a Razzle Dazzle Rice Krispies. They don't make them anymore, and somebody sent me like a link to like somebody has an unopened box from the 90s. I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna order that. I'd be too tempted to eat that stale or that like expired cereal. But oh man, yeah, I'm not a big like peanut butter guy. I can't stand the taste and smell of it.
Okay.
And then I don't know why. It was always interesting because did anybody here do sports like in high school?
I did track and cross country.
Okay. Did you ever have it to where like the parents would prepare like meals for you? Like because and they'd always do peanut butter jelly sandwiches. And I was always the guy going like, no peanut butter. Can I just get a jelly sandwich?
I think I saw more of that in like the club sports because I did soccer and baseball as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, for track, no, you're kind of on your own. It's like here's a power bar.
Yeah. Good luck. Go run.
See you, pal.
Go run.
Go run.
What sports do you do in track?
Mile 800.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I did cross country. I was always
cross country too.
I loved cross country. I played college baseball. Nice. And I think it was a freshman year I established myself as like the fastest distance runner on the baseball team.
Ooh.
And then it was the rest of my entire college career that it was kind of a joke to make all the freshmen or like all the new people who were coming on the team try and beat me. Oh. And I would just destroy people's mentally.
Nice. I was pretty quick too. I don't know about now, but I'm definitely
now I'm like, all right, 10, what is my mile? 10 or 11 minute mile, like nothing. Like, all right,
I'd be lucky to get a 9-minute mile right now. Yeah.
My dog just broke 8.
Nice.
He's restricted by me.
You've done like a 6-minute mile or something like insane.
Yeah. So I have to hold it back because I have to maintain control because if he veers left, so like 7:57 is the fastest we've gone, or like I feel like I still have control of my dog. So we're getting there.
That's pretty quick. Yeah.
But so when I let people kind of just like feel like they're catching up on me, and they'd gas themselves, and then I would just like, all right, I'm just gonna go half a step faster, and then just watch their spirits die. It was fun. You have to entertain yourself when you're running 5 miles. When you're having to run 10 miles, like you got to find something fun to do out there. Good times. All right. We ready to podcast, guys?
Yeah. I was showing on my new giraffe mount. Dexter here in chat had an extra.
Oh,
from scratch offs.
Yeah. Fi saying I'm just cruel. It was always fun. Always the freshmen will come on and I thought that they for whatever reason thought that they would do fine. And I'm like, all right, like it wasn't me instigating the challenge. It was all the other like baseball players. Like, all right, can somebody finally beat this guy? I think I maintained my lead until I graduated. Who knows who has it now? All right, cool. Let's do it. We got the record. Chris is typing. Whenever Chris types, I get this weird sound effect. So I don't know why that is.
Exiting the game.
Cool.
An unexpected error. You can't quit the game.
No,
the game quits you.
We tell you when to exit
Unexpected
the game.
error.
That's so funny.
Yeah, the error was me pushing exit. Like, there's no error here.
All right, I'll type this in chat. Guys, if you want to have your comment highlighted, be sure to be hanging out over here on Ginger Gaming Radio for the live show. I cannot link the Twitch, so it is that's how it is.
Pictures of Brian from college look like a totally different guy. Take all of the like happiness and smiling and beanies, and he was like this like.
What do y'all call me? Like a Tommy Hilfiger model?
He looked like an Abercrombie model, and he had this like douchey, like douchey smile that he'd have. He had this like, yeah, you had like
no, I never did frat.
Okay,
he had some like Zoolander pose, and all his photos were in that.
Merman, Dad, Merman. Oh man,
yeah,
he was jacked.
Oh yeah,
college. I'd actually
super thin, super jacked.
I'm super jacked now. I'm just not super thin.
Oh,
yeah, that doesn't go away.
No. Like I still have like
25 pounds in the last 5 months. My wife's like, your legs are jacked. I was like, that was there. I just was carrying around some Cane's boxes of Cane's chicken fingers on top of them.
It was always a pain to go buy clothes. Not gonna lie, like because like my waist was like what a 28, but then my legs were like a 36 or 38. Bro. Like squatting like 600 pounds. I had to stop squatting my max. I think I could have probably gone past 600, but it was hurting my back. Like I was like, because the pressure on the back, I was like, this ain't worth it. I'm not going, like, I don't need to go squat for any buddy professionally. Like this is ridiculous. I'm good with that number. Perfectly fine. Maybe it was, I forget the exact number, but it was what it is. All right. Anyway, that's a fun little free show, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation. Abercrombie model, Brian and me. All right.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Ripped.
All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to Crystal Core Radio. I'm your host, Brian, and joining me with the co-host responsibilities, the mo-host responsibilities, Chris, and welcoming to the show for the first time, a legend. You've probably heard of him. If you haven't, we're happy to introduce Llamatodd to the program. Llama, you've been helping us get some rating clears, and cannot thank you enough. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. Second of all, why don't you introduce yourself to the world who does not yet know you and absolutely should be following you?
Oh, sure. Well, my main game is Final Fantasy XIV, and I do lots of in-game content and rating. And I guess my specialty would just be helping new players and new raiders get introduced to in-game. So lots of folks they have different reasons, either anxiety, fear, whatever it is. Maybe they had a bad experience in Party Finder or whatever it is. But we try to make it more approachable and accessible, and just helping people become better raiders and try to enjoy the same content that I do, which is raiding.
You're doing the Lord's Yoshi P's work.
I'm trying.
So, yeah. So, guys, today's show is sponsored by Vern Thorne, WG Productions, and Keelan over here on Ginger Gaming Radio. If you want to tune into these shows live, be sure to follow Ginger Gaming Radio, and that's where you can come hang out with us while we do these live. Chris is actually also live on Twitch, so if you guys aren't following over on Twitch, that's twitch.tv/work2game. Llamatodd, you're thinking about doing some YouTube, or you're just starting to dabble into the world of YouTube, but why don't you plug your Twitch and maybe your YouTube?
Oh God, the YouTube can wait. There's really nothing there, but I have had conversations about that, so I know what I need to do, and I'm going to be doing that. Maybe I'm starting off with some highlights and stuff, but yeah, you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Llamatodd.
And when do you normally stream? Like, what is your typical schedule right now?
I typically start around, well, it's what I consider prime time North America, so around like 9 Eastern or so, but I go pretty late into the night, and for we gotta support the DJs, the true gamer hours.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. So, Chris, I'm going to toss to you real quick as the only non-secret lab chairperson in this podcast. Not sponsored, just throwing shade.
You don't have to throw shade. This is a reject bin IKEA chair that is 5 years old and shouldn't have been sat in the first place. This is the opposite of premier seating. There's no shade needed. It knows its place. Yeah, I'm excited to be back in the normal swing of things. We've been making all sorts of progress here on stream. I am getting close. I have every job to 37 or higher. So I'm getting down to that home stretch as we get closer and closer to see Endwalker. Seeing Rich Campbell react to Shadowbringers trailer today was really fun because seeing somebody react with that much emotion took me back to seeing it at FanFest for the first time, which was a neat trip down memory lane for, the fact that now we know so much more about Shadowbringers than we did at FanFest, obviously.
Absolutely. I do want to spend some time and get obviously some input from Llamatodd about Endwalker, but you bring up a great topic, Chris. Asmongold and Rich's impact on Final Fantasy XIV. I know, and we've been in the streams where I think Rich said, "Get me Llamatodd. Let's go with this." Like shouting him out by name.
Oh my goodness.
Llama, dude, what's that? Like, how's that feel? Just to have that random recognition.
It's crazy. And I think the way I found out, it was just he was lurking in one of my streams randomly one time. I guess he started playing and checking out the directory, and he found me because I was doing my whole thing with rating. And of course, I found his because he's really popular, very charismatic. And his, like you said, his reactions have just been phenomenal. And I'm like, well, shoot, let's check him out. And then he saw me in there, and then I got to do a couple dungeons with him. And I'll never forget, I got to do most of the Alexander raids with Rich. So I was there when he saw the Brute Justice drop, and that's an awesome moment too. I don't know if you've ever done Brute Justice, but the music's going, and all the previous bosses that you fought in that tier kind of merge into one, and it's just really cool. So
I haven't done the Savage, so maybe we'll talk after this. But
you can see that in normal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Normal, it's used to a minimum item level in normal though, right? So
yes,
it was Savage Light already. It's there to punish you, but there aren't as many mechanics going on.
So being part of that, I'm very grateful that he's been, wanting me to be included in everything. And most recently, he tagged me on Twitter. He wants to do an ultimate, so I'm trying to put together that the best I can with probably some other content creators that we know.
How does that work? So when somebody like that tags you, so what runs through your head? Because I don't know how you view yourself, because I view yourself as kind of a big dog in the space, because when it comes down to it, you have just been really building a name for yourself out on Twitch. And I have a huge amount of respect, not just for the content you produce, but for the fact that you've done this on Twitch without the use of YouTube. For me as a content creator, I go, well, there's something here. There's something special. And it's clearly being recognized. So I'm very happy that you're getting the recognition that you deserve. Thank you. It sucks that I am a horrible person because it took me this long to get you on the podcast, but
that's okay.
Nevertheless, we're remedying that today. What is that like? How is building an ultimate? What does that look like when you see that tweet? What do you do?
I start panicking a little bit. It's ooh, a little bit of pressure. Part of me is just oh God, I kind of wish I had the team already set, because he asked me to contact him privately before, and I just wanted to give him the rundown of setting expectations for an ultimate. Here's what I think you could do. Depending on how you want to approach this, we can pull in different people. So it could be do you want the easiest route? And I say easy very lightly because it's still an ultimate, and even if it's just one person, they have to learn the fight. Or does he want to bring in more new players or people that just haven't touched ultimate, people from his community? I don't know. So I just presented a couple options. And then I think after the all craft with Xeno, Zeno kind of talked them into doing it with veterans. It's like, look, if you want to do it before, he was very blunt. He's like, if you want to do this before Endwalker, you should probably do it with veterans. And who cares what people say? Because already we're going to get comments. Oh, he's going to get carried. You know, all these streamers or these raiders are going to help him out. Carried. And I just think that's completely unfair. And Zeno also made a really good point. It's like, even if they went in with like 8 blind people, like no experience with Ultimate, someone's still going to find a way to complain. And it's true. So might as well just like do what's going to be fun for you and do what's going to make good content. Yeah. And I don't think people want to see Ultimate being dragged out for, like, if they do it with 8 blind people, it will be dragged out for months and months and months. I don't reasonably think they would finish before Endwalker if they did that.
I mean, it also varies on like what their definition of carry is, right? So we've seen, I don't know the Ultimate fights that well. I've always been a viewer. I've never even set foot in them, but like within a carry, we've seen people come into the space and do things different ways where they've had people with them that are very talented, but what happens when that person dies and doesn't understand a mechanic? Do we wait? Do we leave that person blind, or do we continually coach them the way you took me through Savages? It varied how many people were in the pools with me that had done it before versus hadn't. We are overgeared, but we are doing it no echo. You're doing raid callouts that are very specifically targeted to me. But then there's also times where like the tanks miss it and we wipe it up. So I wasn't dead on the floor at the time that any of the bosses went down. Right. And so like, it doesn't really matter. I think what matters is Rich and Asmon are very well aware of the prestige that comes with clearing an ultimate, any of the ultimates at all, and in any way. And so it's literally what will make them the happiest with that clear, because you can't go back and re-clear it for the first time. You get one chance at what your first experience is.
Exactly. And I mean, my first time, I went in with Zeno. Like my first ultimate was T, and Zeno led that one. I mean, we did have a lot of new people in it, but Zeno had previously cleared it, and we were like we were like a reprog group for him. So I mean, you could technically say, oh well, Llamatodd, you're T clear, you got carried. It's like, okay, I still put the work in, and it was awesome. So like, you can't take that from me. We had some really good moments too.
Where do you think that root idea comes from? Because there's no way that Rich or Asmon specifically would have the experience that people had when the content dropped fresh. Right. What do you think that root idea comes from people who are just going to like, it sounds like to me they're searching out any way to discount. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't understand that mentality. I mean, it goes against like everything that I do and provide for the community. I mean, because you could technically say I just giving people carries every night when I'm helping folks.
Full-time carry.
Yeah, exactly. Full-time carry.
Fireman just carried me across that finish line.
Right. Just exactly. But like, and I've been very careful in how I teach, because like I don't want to set up the situation where someone just comes to me, gets the easy clear, and then like they're done. Like that's it. Like I want them to have like lasting, or at least reasonably lasting knowledge of the fight, where they can go back into Party Finder comfortably, and they're gonna like remember a lot of the stuff I taught them. So like I'll try to like remove call outs as we progress further into the fight, like from the earlier phases, and just kind of like, all right, let's see where they're at. But yeah, I don't know why people try to discredit clears and try to like, invalidate people's efforts and stuff, especially with an ultimate, because like I said, it's you still have to learn the fight. You can't just be a corpse the entire time and get the clear. There's mechanics that are completely unavoidable, where it's personal responsibility, where if you don't move the right way, you don't do the right thing, you're going to wipe the raid. So it's like it's a PvE game. Like, what does it matter to you if someone else clears? It doesn't affect you. It's older content. Like, let it go.
Do you think streamers have an unfair advantage over just regular players?
I think that's probably another part of it. I think those who complain are mad that maybe streamers have the extra resources, and especially very popular streamers, they get all sorts of raiders that want to help them. So I think it's maybe a bit more accessible. It's going to be harder for the average player to they're going to have to actively find Discords and find people and even recruit their own team. But a big streamer, it's going to be like, how can we raid with you? This is going to be so cool. So yeah, I can see the jealousy there being a problem.
It cuts that step out. I will tell you, that would be a very taking the time to buy a camera and a microphone and build an audience solely so that it'd be way easier to just go into a Discord and ask for help. That's a long journey to get that payoff. So that's kind of like saying somebody just started a movie so they could get free Taco Bell. You've done a lot of work for something you could have just had at the start.
That's been my 10-year plan.
It's been my 10-year plan. This was it, guys. 5 years of work beginning. We can shut it down. We were just trying to get big enough that we could get carried through one tier of Eden. We're done.
And one of us has a secret lab share and the other one doesn't. So another 5 years. I paid cash for this, not sponsored. Anyway, go ahead.
But I will say, the stakes go up across the board, though, because if Asmongold doesn't get his clear in a night, that damages his entire. It hurts them when they're not getting their clear every single time. Like you said, that can't just drag on for months. It won't be good content.
No.
And so, they're getting access to these higher level players, but they're also having to do all of this and then do it while entertaining. There are very few content creators that are big enough and talented enough that talent alone can carry their career on Twitch. The vast majority of them are offering some level of entertainment value beyond what you're seeing in the gameplay. It does happen, especially during the race for world first, where we will see people who really don't have any interest in the personality side of Twitch that have enough talent to carry an interesting stream, because we're seeing gameplay that we can't get to otherwise. But I don't think that's what Rich and Asmon are doing. I think they're adding something to the gameplay.
They are.
So I don't think it's that straightforward.
What do you think the lasting impact that Asmon and Rich are going to have overall on the 14 community? Because I've got my own theories. I'm going to let you have the floor, and then we can kind of just break that down.
Oh, gosh. I mean, we've already seen it already. I mean, there's just gobs of new players, new sprouts and stuff. I think the last Alliance raid I was in, it was just completely just full of sprouts. It was like a Chia Pet Alliance, basically. And
is that a good thing or a bad thing? When you're
I think it's good. Play? No, I think it's awesome. And it it took a lot longer than what I recall the last time I did an Alliance raid, because there were so many new players trying this mechanics. They weren't standing on the platforms, and they were just I'm like why is this so why is this harder? And I was okay with it. And when I do leveling roulettes, I see a bunch of new players, and I'm not getting mad. I'm sure there's going to be some people that do get mad, but I love this. I'm oh, look at this guy.
It's very rare in my leveling roulette that anybody else in the party besides me has level 80. Just one.
Yeah. He doesn't have his tank stance on it, or he's asking for help, and some of them are sorry guys, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think I helped someone recently, just kind of show them the ropes, how to tank better in a dungeon, and they were very grateful for that. But I think that's part of it, just their community, and they kind of gave the green light to a bunch of the WoW players to move over. And of course they have the whole Activision Blizzard stuff going on, but that's another thing. That's no topic. But also
let that die.
Yeah, just let that.
Yeah.
From assholes. But then they have other streamers that also get the green light. So it's just waves and waves of streamers and their communities and new players, and it's just compounded. So I think we're going to be seeing that for probably the long term, even if a fraction of those people stick around. If they do the story and maybe they leave, there's probably still going to be some that want to stay and oh man, this is my new favorite game. I want to play this for a long time. And I think Endwalker is going to be primed to be a pretty hype situation. I think the directory is going to be crazy when Endwalker drops.
What do you think, Chris? Is the directory going to be crazy?
I mean, it was going to be crazy regardless, right? And Rich and Asmon are among a wave of new creators coming over. Pyro just announced kind of done with WoW altogether, basically coming over. You know, a lot of these creators, they do have other variety they do, but when they focus on a MMO as the majority of their content, we see other people making the move. And they each have their own community and their own impact. I think the biggest thing that it's done is that for a lot of years, there have been stereotypes around the Final Fantasy XIV community because as a small community, they only come across one or two aspects of it. And when those one or two aspects all have something in common, it's very easy to say, okay, I see 5 people that play this game and they all have this thing in common. I bet all 2 million people that play this game or all 5 million must also have that thing in common. And they just move forward with that stereotype. And so as a result, huge portions of other MMO communities like World of Warcraft have said, I don't want to play Final Fantasy because only people that have this quality or this interest are interested in that game. But when you go out and you meet 100 people that play that game, when you have a big surge like this, there's no way all 100 people have one thing in common. And so that immediately forces you to evaluate it like just a touch more complex, just the tiniest bit more like, hey, maybe they're not all exactly the same freaking person. And that has created like an opening for validation to say, well, I don't want to play it because I don't like anime. I don't want to play it because I don't like story and all these things. And we're all like, okay, well, if you don't want to play it, that's fine. But like, that's not a good reason. And so like, it's removed a lot of the barriers. And so it's let people decide, like, do I want to play it and do I want to like it? And if they like it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. It's just created an opportunity for people to try it. And some of those people will like it. It is a good game. I don't know that the free trial is the best representation of as we've seen a lot of people who say, hey, I only want to give a game like 2 or 5 hours worth of effort. Well, the first 2 or 5 hours worth of A Realm Reborn does not perfectly represent all of Final Fantasy. So I do think we do still have a new player experience problem with the game. In that we don't give them a fair taste of what the game is as its entirety. We say, hey, try this one thing. And if you like that one thing, don't worry, it's all different. So I think we could still get better at that across the board. But I think that the content creators are doing a good job of showing that amount of variety and showing that it's okay to like this. Rich said yesterday, I think, or earlier this week, like, this is my favorite game of all time. Like, when you hear that, you go, oh, well, then maybe, just maybe, I'll like it a little bit. Like if it's his favorite game of all time, it doesn't have to be my favorite, but maybe I'll like it a little bit. And that's a wonderful thing for the long-term health of this game, especially from people who are often asked about other games and they maybe have been making misinformed or underinformed statements in the past.
Yeah. Now for me, I would say, like, in regards and conclusion to the Asmon and Rich discussion of the show in this case, is I have come to the conclusion that I don't think Final Fantasy XIV needs any defense. I think there are people who believe that it needs to be defended for whatever reason. I'll make myself the kind of the bigger picture here. And when I look at the game itself, it's like, I honestly am like, are you even playing the game? Like, do you realize what we have and what Yoshi P has built? Can it be better? Yes, we'll always be hopefully the first to come and talk about the game critically. But when we left Shadowbringers, we were called shills. And when we went to the media tour, we were called shills because they're like, there's no possible way that Shadowbringers is that good. And it's like, well, I mean, just wait a couple weeks. Like, yeah, could it be better? Could we see some things done with healers? Yeah, that's when we got Endwalker, and we're going to see what they're going to do there. Like, no game is going to be ultimately perfect, but at the end of the day, like, I've come to the conclusion, I just look at the group of people who feel like they have to defend the game, and I go, what game are you playing? Our game needs no defense. It speaks for itself perfectly. And that's where it's like when people are attacking Asmon or attacking Rich or attacking any of these WoW players, it's like, okay, like, why even waste that energy? Like, and then again, I'm speaking as a guy like Rich, like I said, not Rich, but excuse me, Llama. I don't know why I called you Rich for a second there. Like, helping me actually get my first E9S clear last night. My first Savage clear since I haven't touched ratings since ARR.
Almost 2 clears.
We almost like blind cleared 10. We almost blind cleared 10. We got to Void Gate 2, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Heal, dodge, cure, stand, turn. Okay. We, like, oh my God, I don't, like, Brian, what happened? I don't know. I was just in the zone. But at the core of it, it's that, like, wow, this game truly has something special. And the fact that somebody's coming in and saying it's their favorite game of all time, like, that does speak miles. I think Chris, like, hits the nail on the head absolutely with that. But yeah, I just see it as I can't relate to somebody who has that feeling, because I have no time to even care. You know, oh, you don't like the game? All right, like, cool. Like, I might have a follow-up question. Otherwise, it's toodaloo. Like, I'm just going to go on and continue to enjoy my time. Any final thoughts before we jump into our second topic? Great. All right. Leave them stunning. Leave them wanting more. Let's go. All right, cool. Guys, Endwalker, can you believe it? It launches here in just like what, 2.5 months? We are
it's coming.
2.5.
2.5. Like we're almost done. We're almost into September. I
can't believe it.
You know, so yeah, 2.5. We'll just even it out. 2.5 months from now. What are your hopes? Todd, let's start with you, man. We know the raids. We know the name of the raids. Like, is it all raiding for you? What say you?
Yeah, for me, well, I'm still kind of like working on a few things in the background, but personally, like for my progress as a raider, like I would like to get a week 1 clear of a Savage tier. So like, you know, we're gonna have the normal raids for a while. Savage is gonna drop, and then it's gonna be like the world race. And if I find myself in a situation where I can participate in a actual like world race, I'm gonna do it, and I want to get that clear week 1. Like my best has been a week 4, which not a lot of people get. Like most of the player base, even like the raiders, like it takes them weeks, and sometimes all the way up until, you know, the next patch, or even because I'm going to be helping people up into Endwalker, you know, it's going to take them that long to get the clear. So for me, like I wanted to just see that improvement and get that week 1 clear, because it's like you only have the gear, like the crafted gear, and then whatever drops you get that week. So it's just going to be a big challenge, and it's going to be blind. There's going to be no strats, and it's just like all what raiding is about for me. It's like I don't have to worry about looking at the right guides or anything. Like we're just going to figure this out together. So I'm looking forward to that the most. And of course, I hope that they can continue just how well they've been performing with each expansion, especially after Shadowbringers. Like how are they going to top that, and what's the new story going to be? And I do like the story, even though I don't show a whole lot of MSQ, but I'm very much interested in seeing where the story goes and how it's going to end. And I also want to check out, like, all right, are we going to have some Final Fantasy IV bosses? We're going to have some Final Fantasy
Maga
X
Sisters.
And 4. I know. I'm like, well, what else are they going to have? Like, this is going to be so cool. Like, because I'm a fan of the series overall. It's not just like, because you get some people that only play 14, and they're like, who's this guy? Like, who are these bosses? Why is this important? But when they do throwbacks like that, like when they have like Kefka in the game, or like, because Final Fantasy VI Intactus were my favorites. So when they have raids based off of that, like I was losing my mind. I'm like, yes, the music, the bosses, the themes, like I want more of that. So I'd love to see 4 and 10. I've definitely played the heck out of 10. And if they had Blitzball, I would just no life Blitzball. I would no life it. I would be a Blitzball main.
I have a follow up, because essentially you kind of hit on good points. I do want to give Chris some airtime here in a second, but if they added Blitzball, like how do you balance leveling and MSQ and all the other stuff that you enjoy about this game, along with learning the raids and raid progression, especially with content creation and streaming?
Gosh, it's tough, because it's like, you know, at the start of an expansion, especially as a streamer, you kind of have to get through the story just to like unlock the raids, and then after that, it just becomes secondary. And I know that like in terms of content creation, you end up losing a bit of viewership for like multiple reasons. One, it's just everyone's going to be streaming it because it's new, and then you get all of the other content creators that come back just for the story, and then they just consume all of that, then they leave. And then you get people that they don't want spoilers because they go at their own pace. And for me, it's like, well, I just need to get this done. I'm going to try to enjoy it the best I can, but I just want to like do this and prepare for raids.
Do you stream the story at all?
I did stream Shadowbringers, so I did have like reactions and stuff, and I think it was awesome to see. I did get spoiled a couple of times from people, even though I thought I was going pretty quick. And some people kind of like let some things slip. So like I'm going to try my best to like avoid that, because it can happen. But yeah, I'll stream the main scenario.
What do you think, Chris? What's your hopes, and what do you think about the story and streaming?
So streaming, I mean, I'm still up in the air. kind of how to handle that. I do want to keep the core hours here on the channel, like the 8 to 2, Monday to Friday, spoiler free, for at least that first couple weeks till everybody gets out of what is a holiday season here in the US. For people that aren't able to play that week, they're working a ton so they can have that time off with their family, and then they don't get to touch the game until basically the end of November, 1st of December. There's going to be people who have not cleared MSQ at that point. And so I'd like to kind of keep the stream spoiler free. I've thought about running maybe secondary streams on a secondary character where I'm progressing story so that I remain kind of given the chance, like Llamatodd said, where I can be ahead of being spoiled. Also, like, if I get my main character, if I just press escape on my main character and I do it the way I used to do it, I know enough now that, like, if I know who the final trial boss of the expansion is, am I denying myself part of that experience because I'm not really a true skipper? And so I won't be a true skipper. So even if I skip, I'm still going to see the boss. And so, like, in the past, that's not been something that's bothered me, but this is the finale. And so it's hard to, like, if there ever was a chance for a boss model to bother me, you wouldn't know it until it was too late. It's never bothered me in the past to see a screenshot of a boss prior to getting to fight that boss, because I still want to know how we got there. Is that really them? What, or do we think we're actually helping each other? Like, after the fight, are they really dead? Do they walk away? There's all these things that games can do where the boss model doesn't on its own drive the narrative. But with this being the finale, there are potential versions of how the story plays out that the character model itself is a spoiler. And that there is no way to say, like, I don't even know who that is, or that may not really be them. It's like, no, it's going to be very, very clear depending on how this plays out. And so I am sensitive to that. I don't know how you cover it. And now a lot of people don't like watching story week one. It's why I think it's important for all the people that are still working a normal week to have a stream that's considered spoiler free. But what that'll probably be is I wake up really early and, like, knock out the initial story of something, like maybe skip all the story on Reaper and then go replay that because I won't know what the heck's going on, and just level up my Reaper Sage, level up my Crafters and Gatherers, and just kind of spend that first week doing all of the other kind of grunt work that surrounds an initial level grind, but don't touch the MSQ. And the question is, how far can I make it? Can I get to the main city? I'm going to have to do at least some quests to be able to get to the new crystalline mean or whatever. So how much spoiler content do I have to do kind of appropriately to get to a point where I can say, you know what, we're going to be in a holding pattern here in a spoiler-free territory, and we're all just going to hang out here and get all these crafters to cap this week so that everybody has a place to hang out and, not talk spoilers. I don't know how you cover that. As for what I'm excited for, this expansion, if I could change anything about this expansion, there's been a ton to love about this expansion. So more of the same would be great. But I'm really looking forward to having all original raid and alliance raid content. The Yorha stuff, while I loved the encounters, the story just really didn't do much for me. I've never played Nier. And so naturally it was going to sail right over my head. And there was a ton of stuff this expansion that I did want to know more about. And so when you see a billboard the size of the alliance raids get designated to advertise for another game, and you're like, but you could have used that to help explain lore around stuff I still have questions about. I really am looking forward to the fact that Mists of the Realm and Pandemonium are going to be entirely original content. Doesn't mean it won't reference other Final Fantasy games and pay homage to. They've always done a lot of fan service here, but I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be something that plays out over the expansion, so that's not like a day one expectation. I'm just excited about it. Beyond that, just more 14. I have no idea how we balance our schedules. It launching November 19th is just such a bad time of year for Americans. It's such a bad time of year, and it's not better for World First. Like World First Raiders, he said, prepare. Yeah. I mean, it could absolutely be a Christmas or New Year's release, and like that's just how the time adds out. So, like for the World First people, have
to clear before the
weekend. Celebrate now. Celebrate again in January for the various holidays that we're passing through, and tell them goodbye. Like I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. People are going to want to like clear pretty quickly. I think I was talking with like some of my buddies, and it's like if they do the normal release schedule, then Savage is going to drop, and basically if you don't clear week one or before that weekend, then you're going to be raiding like during Christmas or something. So the goal is to clear early within 3 or 4 days after it dropping, because if you take like 5 or 6, then you're going to be like pretty much creeping up on Christmas Eve and stuff. So I definitely want to clear it before that. I want to have some like quality time. So that does concern me. And it just sucks a little bit.
It's the nature of it.
It is.
Shadowlands released late. They had issues too.
Mm-hmm. So where do you guys think Final Fantasy XIV is going to go after the finale?
Oh God. Well, we know it's to the moon. Next question. That's tough. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to take it. We've always had like the Ascians, right, in the background, just looming, always like scheming up to something. So I guess we figure out some new entity or new villain or something. But I kind of like how they even approach. Like you kind of felt at the end, you kind of felt bad for some of the Ascians, and you're like, oh man, like, well, they were just trying to like maybe save their own world, even though they were kind of assholes most of the time. Like you kind of related with some of them, and you're like, well, maybe if they kept like a bit of that gray area with the next antagonist, like I'd be down for that. The storytelling has been awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
What do you think, Chris? Like, where do you think 14 goes after 6.0?
Without talking too much spoiler, I would change it from where to when. The question is, how do you separate the current storyline from moving forward? And so, in my mind, you have to have some time pass between 6.0 and 6.1. And they could surprise me and do something wrong. I'm not the writer, but for me, the jumping forward or jumping backward makes the most sense. It's when I would love to go backward. There were a lot of decisions made that were presented very black and white, and we can see that they're wrong, but I would love to go back and provide some context that maybe makes those choices of right or wrong more conflict-based, something that we think is good. Turns out there was some sacrifice there. Something we think was bad. Turns out they had a series of bad options to choose from, and it was the least bad of the options. Mm-hmm. I like that complexity. I think, we've seen that within the Final Fantasy. We've seen that develop within Shadowbringers. We've seen that within Final Fantasy VII-R. They're not afraid they're not shying away from those very big, complex topics. So I would love to go back and provide some context around some of the characters. We obviously know at that point that we'd be on a storyline that has an end because we've already played the future. So we'd be setting ourselves up for another one of these, kind of do a couple expansions and wrap it up. Or we jump forward. And, obviously then if we've really wrapped up conflict, what's the reason that we're necessary as a character that, just like many RPGs, is a savior of sorts? Mm-hmm. What is the reason for a savior in a world at peace? In a world at peace, there really isn't a need for one. And so you would need some new conflict to arise. And then the questions start to shift to who fights with us. Do we move forward, or do we fight with the same cast of characters alongside us, or do we get a new cast? And then for me, I'm always interested in mechanical systems. So from a 6.1 standpoint, do you change which characters are available in the trust system, since that's meant to be a narrative extension device? What do you do with just characters in general? What do you do with all of this stuff? How do you reference it moving forward? How do you even handle things like seasonal events? If technically we're in the future, that's super freaking weird. So how do you phase it? How do you, there's just a whole lot that gets really weird if you end the game. And I think it's the reason that games historically have just shied away from that, or they've done like a Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, and just wipe the slate. So to have a finale, there's not a whole lot of precedent for how you have a true finale, and not like, oh, it's the end of the expansion, kind of. And it's just like every other end, doesn't mean anything. And ultimately we're just kicking the can forward. If this really is a hard bookend, I have no idea what that looks like from how you balance the content.
So I think for myself, and this is just me speaking, for obviously from hopes and what I would love to see, I do like the concept of moving forward in time. I think narratively, when you talk about the Ascians and the fall of the Empire, and us being victorious, in my mind, that leaves the power vacuum. In my mind, the things that unite us today, when those things are no longer there, do we let our pettiness and our differences divide us? And then it becomes about, greed and lust and all the things that, like humanity struggles with. And that's what I kind of see happening. Like when we look at the Syndicate, when we look at all these things and these threads that have been left untended all this time, like, you know, when you look at the worst in humanity, you have the opportunists and things like that nature. So with a power vacuum as the destruction of Ascians and Empire, I think that actually gives rise to a lot of conflict, a lot of drama, a lot of tension. I think life has a natural tension to it in that regards. And that's one of the things, like, you know, yeah, we've all been united today, but will we be united, you know, in 6.1? And that could be, who knows? Like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm sitting here, I just look at this and say, yeah, that's all great that we all get along right now. But there was a time in the lore, there was a time in our history where this was not true. And then the Empire rose up, and all of a sudden there was a value in us defending each other. And then we can kind of look past those differences. And as players, as the Warrior Light, we don't obviously see that. Like, we're the kind of the hero of the story. And that's going to be interesting to see if that has any kind of narrative shift in 6.1. Then the MMO Final Fantasy Fantasy would love to see some form of Vana'diel connected to this game. Whether that's a shard, whether that's the new world, whether that's whatever. Like, we know there's other major continents on this planet. We have yet never have seen them. And so if you want to hear me giggle like a schoolgirl, just be like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Like, that in and of itself would have me thrilled to be able to run around Mestok or Sanadoria
that's
or
so
whatever.
Funny. I think earlier you mentioned that you had all your jobs at like level 37 and that's up, me. And that
his are all kept.
Yeah. Okay, I know, but that just, I immediately went to FF11, and that's the sub job level. That's all.
37 was the sub job level.
75/37. I'm like, oh, look at that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd love to see some Vana'diel. Maybe some Chrono Trigger too.
Dude, oh my gosh, especially with time jumps. I don't know.
Yeah,
like, there's so much they can do, and it just had the inner nerd. He's like, oh yeah. But beyond that, though, like, because we know that the Final Fantasy XI's 20th anniversary is also happening next year. Like, it would be something that I think I don't expect it. If Vana'diel has no connection to, you know, Eorzea or Final Fantasy 14, I go about my life just as happy as I am today. However, like, when we talk about, like, what would literally, like, melt my mind would be something like that. Whether, again, like, it's a shard. My personal hope, it's not a shard. My personal hope is, like, shards are done. You know, like, we've resolved that. You know, whatever was keeping us apart is now together. You know, that I think would be kind of interesting to see the impact that would have on the world, especially like from 1.0 to 2.0. We've seen world-changing impact in this game, and to see that happen again would be really thrilling. But yeah, that's going to be where I put it. I don't put any hope into that as a happening, because who knows? Like, what? That's why I cannot wait to find out and see. Any final thoughts on this topic before we go to our final topic?
No, just make it worth the build up. This is 10 years in the making. So
a lot of people, a lot of expectations. So I'm ready.
So speaking of that, 10 years in the making, one of the things that I find fascinating, because we know the raid happens after the story. So story concludes. We know 6.1 is when we'll see the 24-man raid. And these two raids are Pandemonium and Myths of the Realm. And just like I echo Chris's statement, like, I adored the Yahora raids for the content, I did not connect into the story. It just didn't further it for me. And Myths, just in its title, just like Ivalice being part of the world, Stormblood, I have so much more love for Stormblood now that Ivalice continued in Devosia that I just connect to it. So Todd, the question to you is that, let's talk about raiding in Endwalker. Let's talk about how you plan to kind of take your content from that going into Pandemonium and Myths of the Realm. What excites you the most, and how are you planning on tackling it in terms of what you do currently today?
Well, I mean, we're going to have to wait for the raids to drop. And I think primarily it's just going to be preparing for Savage. We're just going to be dissecting all the normal raids and trying to glean as much like information as we can from them, just to see what type of mechanics we're going to experience in Savage. So, like, if you're familiar with how normal works versus Savage, in normal you often see all the telegraphed attacks. Everything's pretty easy. Well, relatively easy to dodge. You still get players that just are always standing in the bad for, like, no matter what. You could put giant arrows and bad symbols but they just stand there. But with normal, it's just going to be preparation for Savage, and then get that week 1 clear, hopefully. And then after that, I'm going to be diving right back into Party Finder, and I'm going to start teaching people as soon as I can. As soon as like I don't have that, I guess, commitment to like, okay, we're doing hardcore all these days. Like when I'm free from that, then I go right back into like what I do here, which is helping people learn the fights with clears, because there's going to be lots of folks that do not have statics, and they're gonna need that. They're gonna need some guidance. And who knows? Maybe, I mean, it'd be nice if we had like a little Llamatodd strat or something, Llama strat on one of the fights. I would just love to have that. And then even if people hated it,
you got to be fast.
I would
it's not about being better. You got to be fast.
You got to be fast.
You got to be fast.
You got to put it out there. But like, oh, I don't like Llama strat. Llama strat sucks. I'm like, sorry.
You got to be fast.
But it's mine. But you have heard of me. Yeah.
You have heard of me.
But you have heard of me. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So which one are you most excited about? Obviously Savage, but like, does Myths like intrigue you at all?
I mean, like, not to like brush it off, but it's more like casual content, and I do appreciate it. Like, I really appreciated the Evilist raids, because like I love tactics, and when like Orban Monastery, like phenomenal. I was like, oh man, it has like all of my favorite characters, and like Agrius was in there. Like I definitely love Agrius. So
when you said 6 in tactics, I was like, you sir are good man, good company.
Yeah.
This guy likes 10. I like 10. I just like 6 in tactics
I like 10.
Are great.
I sunk a lot of hours into 10, but
10 or 10-2.
10.
Oh man, see, I'm in the 10-2 boat. I like 10-2 more.
Okay. Anyway,
I derailed that just slightly, but
no, it's okay. I think I'm definitely curious
to take that E9S clear back. Oh, all right then.
Not at all.
Hey Todd, are we raiding anytime soon? It's like, oh no, yeah. I'm a little bit busy, Brian. Sorry.
Oh no. Nah, never. No, I'll be interested in seeing like what original raid bosses and content they're going to come up with for an Alliance raid. But it's not like super important to me, but like I think it'll be nice.
Would you like to see some form of like Savage Alliance raid, or would you like to see some like Final Fantasy version of like M+, for example?
I think Yoshi P has already even answered this. I would like more challenging dungeons, 4-mans. Like, even though, yes, if there's like a lot more on the line, and if you have one person that dies, it's going to be a lot harder to recover. Where if you have like 8 people and like one person dies in an 8-man raid. And I think with what we've seen with Bajja, which is content I just haven't touched and gotten into. I mean, you kind of have like that Savage version of Alliance raids there.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it punches you into the ground. I don't know if Brian, if you stepped foot into it. I've been doing Deliverem Savage on Sundays. It's tough. It'll slam you in the face. You got to know the fight.
I just, from a gearing standpoint, like I wouldn't want to see like a Savage Alliance raid required to getting like your best in slot for an 8-man raid. Like I that would kind of screw that up a lot. But if they made it like slightly lesser eye level or something, like okay. But I think they should just stick to the normal formula.
So the problem with it being slightly less then is now you're tome capped every week, and you have the top Alliance raid piece, and it still becomes something that becomes part of that week 1, week 2 prog. And so that week that you're already worried about the load, it gets launched onto that week, where now in the first week, you also have to farm all that up. And so if it is tied to anything that can be interpreted as gear progression, even early in the cycle, it becomes mandatory. If instead you tie it behind something like Unreal or Ultimate, where it is cosmetic only, then it doesn't matter.
Or it has its own progression system that's its own self-contained system.
Which Bajja has a set of gear. It has a set of 520 gear tied to it that has a haste stat that is not eligible outside of Queens of Gunhildr content. So you can absolutely have that gear, have an extension within that. You can also have that gear have really cool cosmetics. The deep dungeon gear, those weapons have been relevant very, very briefly. And then for the test of time, it is a glamour-only system that people also use for experience. So you could easily, Yoshi has said in interviews that he would, if they did this, likely tie it to something like Deep Dungeon. And I think that makes a lot of sense because it keeps it isolated. It keeps it tucked away where you can have it be like that Necromancer title. So when, let's just say like a couple of individual people decide to stay on the internet, they're going to get a Necromancer title. All of a sudden, the internet as a whole is really interested in this title. It's always been there. It's not new.
Sure.
And there's this massive resurgence in content because that content was never tied to gear progression. It was always meant to be a separate system. So they have said if they do enjoy the difficult, larger content, they've really enjoyed the way the community responded to Baldi using Arsenal. They then said, we love that so much that we're going to they give us 3 raids tried to Queens of Gunhilder, one of which got a Savage, 48-man Savage. It's an insane number of people. Getting past the door boss, you can literally have 24 people doing their job exactly right. And then they're sitting there waiting at a door for the group that's been fractured from them. And if that group wipes, you have to wipe the whole thing up and start over. So it's they've really enjoyed that response.
So like you could probably educate me a little bit. So like they say 48-man Savage, but like which kind of Savage? Are we talking like lights rampant for 48 people or maybe tiles for 48 people? Like what degree of difficulty in Savage is it for that large amount of people? Because I feel like you can't have a light rampant type situation or lions, 48-man lions. It's like
so Deliverum works a little differently from the get-go. So let's back up to normal because you haven't been in that either. Right. So it's always neat to see something that like I know more about than Llamatodd. Chocobo Racing and apparently Deliverum are the only two. So
there's more than that, believe me.
So Deliverum functions a little differently than most battle content in the game because what they do instead of giving you like a damage down or a vuln stack, they have a probation style mechanic. So when you get clipped by a mechanic in normal, you get a probation stack, and if within 2 minutes, while that probation stack falls off, if you get hit again, you get doomed and you die. And so when you die in the normal 24-man Deliverum, it is 99% of the time your fault, uncurable, nothing you can do. And so every mechanic is about testing, are you paying attention? And so as a result, they design encounters where there are icons that might appear over your head, kind of like the math boss back in the day, not that long ago, where I can't tell you where to be. So it will give me a temperature over my head, and then I have to regulate my temperature back down to the normal range by standing in ice AoE or standing in fire AoE. I can't tell you what AoE to stand in. Historically, we wouldn't want to stand in any AoE, but I am telling you that at the end of this mechanic, she's going to measure all of our temperature, and if she takes your temperature, and if you're cold or hot, you're done, and it's just going to kill you. I don't care what role you are. You can literally have a black mage tank it because of the way lost actions work. Now we have Valors in the mix. So now you have like all these bonus stats. My Deliverance average group, we're only running it with like 33 people. So it's not tuned where you need all 48. But there are mechanics that matter. Now, when you move into Savage, that pivots. We lose the probation stack. And instead of getting hit twice within 2 minutes, killing you, but after the 2 minutes falls off, you can afford to get hit again as the encounter continues on. Now, for each boss, you've got 3 stacks. 3 strikes, you're out. That's it. Thrice come ruin. And if you get hit 3 times, you're just done. And when you go down, rezzing people requires these lost actions. So you don't just get to resurrect people mid-combat. People go down, they stay down. And then there's like, you can have this Phoenix down on yourself that has a 70% chance of rezzing you. There's all these consumables going on. So like as the raid progresses, there is a chance that if you guys, you only get to stock up on the items at the beginning of the raid. So depending on what you brought, as the raid progresses, you eventually just start losing people and they just stay down. And so you work your way further and further into this encounter, and it's this game of limited resource management. And so dying penalizes everybody because now they're having to spend their resources to resurrect you. The opening door boss has slimes on the left and golems on the right, and they each have a different way of being tackled as mechanics. And so you separate into 2 different voice channels and you just handle yours. The other thing is, if you wipe on the second boss, you have to, if everybody dies, you have to clear the instance, you have to leave the instance and you start all the way over. So the entirety of the raid has to be cleared in a single straight through clear.
Let's see.
And so it's this heavy progression where you are talking about the opening door boss being trash. You are talking about, so you're clearing all the Edens, and every time somebody dies, they stay dead. That's a much bigger different, right? And so these relic raids are allowed to break all sorts of rules. So all Savages is it's requiring more coordination. If everybody's coordinated, gear shouldn't be an issue. It's like this expansion, literally, when you log into Bosjo, whether you're 71 or 80 best in slot, it syncs you all to 430 gear. So gearing is no longer what's differentiating people. So the DPS rotation is no longer necessarily the focus. Obviously, more DPS is better, but it's more about like, can you do mechanics? It's about, can you respect mechanics? So it's much, much closer to tiles than something that's like a tuning issue.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Todd?
I mean, I think I probably owe it to myself just to see like that type of content. I think that sounds interesting.
Honestly, the way he described it, I go, "You're doing this on Sunday, right, Chris? Are you streaming this at all?"
No, I streamed the first one. I haven't streamed it since.
I need to see if I can talk to Julie and join you on Sunday, because that sounds.
There's a big Google spreadsheet to get yourself slotted.
Okay,
well, I've always wanted to do like BA.
It's Benny's group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just a guest.
Yeah. BA is honestly one of my bucket list items that I feel horrible about. Eureka actually made me go play Final Fantasy XI again, and I don't regret that at all. Like, I really enjoyed my time playing Final Fantasy XI, because I was like, oh man, like Eureka is almost like how I want it. I wish there was a couple things I wish they did differently, and I think this would be fantastic in 14. And so I was like, well, I'm just gonna go play 11. But then it's like they kept going, and all of a sudden at the end of the train where I wasn't even on, it's like, here's all the stuff. And then I tried to get in, and being that how certain things worked, I was like, well, like I'm doing all this solo. It's not worth it. And then BA drops, and I'm like, so that's a bucket list item I've got for 14. Do you got any bucket list items, Todd, or anything that you're like, because we're just talking obviously about the Zadnor and the Savage version.
I would like to get the Lone Hero Heaven on High solo on Ninja. That'd be kind of cool. That's always been like on the back burner. I'm like, oh, I'll get to it. But then I never.
Have you tried it at all?
Like several months ago, I tried just to see how it would go, and I think I got to like the floor 70 boss, and then I did like one little misstep, and it just kind of ruined the run on the boss fight. I was like, wait a second, and they hit hard. They hit so hard. On melee, I'm like, damn, like these enemies suck so much. Like, you have to be so careful. I remember like kind of just panicking. I'm like, well, I have like my my steel and everything like active, but man, I was just getting rocked. So there's definitely some things to worry about. You can't just like blindly just start bashing enemies and going through and expect to like clear. So, but yeah, that's one of my goals. I think Lone Hero.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'd watch that, absolutely.
Yeah,
Chris, you got any? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's a big grind though. Like, just kind of preparing the save files, because like for content, it's like I don't know if I want to like. I don't want people to just watch me do floors like 1 through 60, just farming and like getting just prepping and stuff. I for me, I just kind of want to get like a couple of saves ready to go, like 70 and up or something.
I wish we had more saves. Like, we only get the 2 slots.
More saves
would
be nice.
It'd be a cool use of the resource to be able to buy more saves.
Yeah, actually,
I don't just want more things handed to me in this game. I want more things to chase.
Yeah, more things.
Give me something to do.
Yeah. Oh, you don't.
I think the Valor system is a really clever end to the Boston system. So what it is a buff that you apply. So you're acquiring this experience in there, and you're purchasing these buffs. Just give me something to chase.
I do have a deal with Angelus Demonus. Of course, if you know anything about Heaven on High and Palace, like, he is like the master at that. But basically, I told him if I ever clear Heaven on High solo, then he will do Savage with me, or he'll clear the tier, whatever tier that is that I actually end up clearing Heaven on High.
Okay.
So I'm hoping I can get this done soon, and then I can force him through 9 through 12. Otherwise, I have to wait.
That sounds exciting. That sounds like really exciting. Well, that brings us kind of pretty much to the end of our show. Todd, A, you got any final thoughts before we wrap up? And then B, where can people find you?
Ooh, final thoughts. Ooh, I don't know. I just recommend that people try to get done what they can before Endwalker. If you have any goals, now is the time. Like, it is quickly approaching, and you're going to be buried in all the new content. So if you have these goals, if you have you have it on high solos, if you have raid progression you want to get done, or Bosnia, whatever it is, like, do it now. People are doing all these things right now, and it's just going to be completely inactive when Endwalker drops. So get on it if you can. Yeah, and you can find me. We'll be back tonight doing some UCOB with our pal Dave Greco Art around, I think we're starting around like 10 or 11 Eastern, something like that. You'll find me tonight. If you're a DJ, if you're late night, you'll find me. Twitch.tv/Llamatodd.
Chris, man, any final thoughts, dude?
No, I'm excited to kind of see Endgame be something that Brian and I are at least aware of. I don't think we'll ever be experts at it, but that's really been my goal this year, is to, I've always had time as my very valid and true excuse for why I haven't gotten to things in the game. And I went full time in January. And so time is no longer on the table as it. So if I'm still using it as an excuse, it is now exactly that. It's only an excuse. So getting a deeper understanding of the game across the board has been the goal. And like, obviously that includes Savage, and that includes leveling up jobs that I've put off. And that includes running content that I missed, and getting to be, I'm starting to get the hang of crafting and gathering, starting to get my first best in slot pieces there. And it's given me the chance to do a lot of stuff. I have one more Tomestone piece to buy and augment before I'm full 530 minus that second ring. Oh, wow. So I'm getting really, really close, and I'm finishing up my 535 relic. So I've got a couple more steps on that. So it's exciting to be this close to best in slot, or at least best in slot adjacent, because I have Tomestone pieces where like technically a Savage piece might be, that much better. Yeah, I'm excited. It's an exciting time to be in 14, and with just a little bit to go, we should go into the expansion ready to chase everything.
And I think for me, I'm just looking forward to tackling 10S now with Todd. Like, that was such an amazing first pull.
Yeah.
And it's so there's still like some learning that I can do there. I had a blast learning E9S. What's up?
What do you mean? You're going to do the call outs. We got so far. Next time, right?
I like everything, right? This guy's such a good teacher. It's just, let's put it out there right there. Like, I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose and managing to survive for the most part. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of what it is. Cause I was like, oh, I did it right, but I hadn't registered like why I did it right. I just know that we're still alive. I did it right. And so there's still plenty to learn. And thank you. I'm a quick study, but I'm really excited about that, and hopefully being able to see how far I can get with that. So I do appreciate you, Todd. Like, this has been like such a treat for me, because one of the guilts that I've had with the game itself is when we've tried to organize like Savage, because like I have no problem learning. I'll throw myself in time and time again, but I've always struggled when it comes down to the question of, hey, can I commit to 2 or 3 nights a week? And the answer is, and will be for at least the short term, no. Like I can't, and I feel bad, because I'm like, don't even like bother with me. Don't even feel bad about that, because that's a choice that I made. That's a choice that I wanted to make. And for the time being, it's like, okay, that means I'm not doing this right now. So being able to jump in once a week and being able to kind of learn this content has been, it's definitely like, oh God, I've missed this so much. So this is just great to be back in.
I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you. Yeah. I'm looking forward to clearing the tier with both of you.
Yes. Well, now we have an internal bet, like who's going to get it done first.
I'm waiting on Dave Greco. So it's really, if you guys could clear UCOB, that's what I told Dave, I'll only wait so long. Like, if I'm seeing Brian, one shot bosses, like at some point, Dave, I'm going to have to try to squeeze onto Todd's schedule before Brian.
So yeah, Chris has obviously got the lead.
You can't run us together. There's one of us has to be first.
It's true. Unless, what if we got you in the 12 together?
There's no ties. There's no room for ties.
This is
whoever's alive at the end.
Yeah, whoever.
Oh yeah. When he's a healer and I'm a tank. Yeah, how could that work out?
Oh, just leave him.
Oh no.
1%
by default.
Main tank's down.
No,
the clear.
The clear. And then for the rest of his life, he'll never live it down. Now, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. Like, because so we'll hopefully be back doing that on Thursday, guys. If you want to tune in for that, right now we've been running that Thursday around 8:00. So hopefully you tune in, guys. Be sure to follow Llamatodd. His content and just honestly, just what he does. I think he puts out some amazing stuff. Real gift to the community. And Todd, thank you so much for taking time today to come onto the podcast. Absolutely, man. This is fun. Like, honestly, you're just such an easy guy to talk to. I was having fun just doing voices with you. We were just like running the thing, calling out the stuff and with different voices and be like,
oh yes, welcome to the pain center.
And having a good time. I like toys. I like voice modulators. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our show, guys. This has been the Crystal Core Radio Podcast. Thank you for tuning in again. You can also check us out on MP3, wherever podcasts are found. Just search Crystal Core Radio and you're sure to find the show. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Thanks for being awesome. We'll see you next time. But until then, take care.
I am the lies of which you sup. This shall be a mercy.
Sorry, I just have so much fun. 14's so quotable. That's the show. We can hang out for a few minutes if you want. It's really kind of up to y'all. Like, this is welcome to the post show. I know Chris it's 3:04, so he usually wraps up around this time on a Friday. And
That's
other than that,
4.
What's up?
I have an appointment at 4.
Cool. Actually, I have a surprise. Julie, for my birthday, got me tickets. I'm going to go be listening to the Final Fantasy Orchestra tonight. Yeah.
In Japan? I didn't know they performed.
They're in Texas, baby. They're in Texas. I cried. I opened up the gift. I've always wanted to go.
That's amazing.
It's always been East Coast, West Coast. It's like, come to Dallas, baby. Come to Fort Worth.
Yeah, I would assume that's a hard That's a hard bucket list item to check off. Your brother's was to always see Muse live in concert. And I was working in a sales job here in Dallas, and somebody said, I have some extra Muse tickets. Would you like them? And I said, yes. And they gave them to me. And I said, cool, I'm going to call my college roommate. And they go, oh, can you pay me face value? I thought I was giving to you and your wife. And I was like, that's fine. So I paid them face value. And I was like, no, if you think you're doing something for me and my wife, like, I get it. And so I took your brother to see Muse. It got that. That's a much easier checklist because they've come to Dallas before. I would assume Final Fantasy XIV Orchestra is like a no. Like, sorry, man, I guess go to Japan.
Yeah. Or they do Los Angeles, New York. So this is, I think it's, I don't know what all songs they'll be doing, but they're also doing a lot of the Final Fantasy VII R, orchestra as well. So it's like, it's just Final Fantasy Orchestra bucket list item. That's where I'm going to be at tonight. So when you say you got some place to be at 4, as soon as we wrap up, I'm going to put the podcast out, see if I can't get the highlights clipped, and I'm going to head out.
Got your FanFest shirt clean?
Julie's wearing.
Or is it dressed nicer than that?
It's probably dressed nicer than that. I am rocking a birthday shirt though. Since July, so it's been a nice. Even though we're in August, it's been kind of the birthday that just kind of celebration that keeps continuing.
What do you do nerdy outside of your little nerd office there? Because I know you do a lot of like hiking and outdoorsy stuff, which gamers are not always associated with by a false stereotype. Like, there's a ton of gamers that, but like, what do you do that outside of that you're like, yeah, that's also pretty dorky?
Oh, what, me? Just God, dorky. Well, I guess before COVID and stuff, we would have game nights, like board games and stuff with friends. I don't know if that's considered dorky, but like it was like kind of the lesser known games, like not like your like typical like Monopoly or whatever. It was like,
what's like your favorite obscure game? Like, if you could introduce us to one board game that you don't think we know, what's your
it's,
you
probably know
this, Pathfinder. We played that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we played that. We also, it was
Wrath of Sardaukar.
It was like crap. I'm thinking of the movie. This is like, my friend has these games. It was like this haunted house type thing game where it's like house on a haunted hill. I don't know, but like basically,
and one of you, the bad guy.
It's kind of like Among Us.
Such a good game.
But one of you is like the imposter sort of, in a way, and you try to kill. You don't know if you're the bad guy until like something gets revealed, like this omen or whatever, and it's like then it's on. Then everyone's trying to either defeat you or escape the house, and you're trying to kill everyone in the game. So like, it's really cool.
I've played that. We've played that. It's such a good game.
Yeah,
and it's essentially like I don't think you necessarily went in knowing like it's like, oh, this curse awakened, and now that you have to play this new role. And then it's like, okay, and then how do you do it? And it's like the game map gets built out as you play, so it's it's different every time. It's a really good game.
Yeah, and then we had some. This is definitely dorky, but we had D&D. We had D&D nights.
I've never played D&D. That's one of the bucket list items that I would love to rectify at some point. Love to fix that.
You could do a one shot.
You could.
I've done a one shot at a Comic-Con. Like you sit down at a table and do it right then. They don't have to be any longer than like a raid night. That's where your character is predetermined. You've got a set of objectives, right? Conflict is immediately presented, and you're immediately moving forward. And it restricts it down to where like it'll end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good starting point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I don't see any questions in chat, so that's I think that's a good time, good sign. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for making the time, dude. I appreciate you.
Of course. No, thank you.
Guys,
you again.
I'm going to send you off to a Sprout, guys. I'm going to send Stream off to hang out with Persephone. She is a gold maker. So she's a what's she identifying as? She is a full-time content creator that focused on World of Warcraft, Stardew Valley, and now Final Fantasy XIV. And very like cozy, inclusive space. Identifies openly as like an autistic creator and everything. So she's awesome and is just learning Final Fantasy XIV. So that's where I'm going to send you guys. She's got like 11 people watching her right now because nobody knows her for 14. So go welcome her to 14.
Do you have her link so I can drop it into the podcast chats? That way anybody still lurking can easily just pop over there that they're on Twitch.
Yep, I'm sending Twitch that way now, and I'm sending you her link. There
you are a
so
legend.
You can also hit follow on her.
Oh, absolutely. All right, guys. Boom, and guys, that's where we're rolling. So that should be rolling out in chat. Click the link and go check out Persephone. All right, I'm gonna hit end broadcast. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. And then Chris will be doing the raid thing, so you might hear me here in a second if you're on Twitch.